gotta do shout outs. What's up, everybody? Hope y'all doing well. Let me know when you can hear me and you can see me. We'll take about 5 minutes and then we'll get started. Thank you all so much for your patience. Truth be told, I had to get something to eat. I completely forgot to eat this morning. And I didn't want to die while I was going in today. Let me know if you are just now getting here, if y'all could like this video, share this video, all that good stuff. Female rep, what did I eat? Some French fries. I did say some French fries. I didn't have enough time to eat a whole meal. Got a busy day today, so I know it's bad for me. Did Tulsi defend Maxwell? No, Trump defended Maxwell. Ruben, what's going on, man? How you doing? Damn, I forgot my... Can you give me my blue? My blue? The 10. Yes, Tulsi fights sanctions. Trump fights for Maxwell. I laugh at that, but it's actually not a joke. That's really what happened. I know I saw Geraldo defending Maxwell too. That was creepy. That was creepy as hell. And it was like, we're going to talk a little bit about that too, but it was like, and the crime that she allegedly committed were like 25 years ago. Okay. I don't know what's the... And that's supposed to have some implication on how serious we take the crime. It was some weird look, y'all. Just some weirdo stuff going on. Yeah, I know. I saw her garden gnome. I saw it. This one. Well, first just let me say this. What happened to Mike is tragic. Y'all know that I didn't get along with Brooks all that much because we had vastly different approaches to how we believe change should be achieved. And now, although we had vastly different approaches, I have vastly different approaches with a lot of different people. This is not news. However, I was hoping that Michael Brooks would be one of the bridges that we mended, because we did, when it came to policy, we did agree on more things than we disagreed on. But unfortunately, the election caused a schism within the movement, so that people who would normally disagree or agree with each other, they just end up not liking each other at all. And it's all really because of people, and very little to do with policy. And it sucks because politicians shouldn't really be able to split up the movement like it has, but that's what we've seen. And Mike, once again, although he was very different in his approach, he is an anti-imperialist. He did work very hard to bring what was happening to the former president of Brazil, Lula, to light. He wasn't by any means perfect, but who is? But he was anti-establishment to the point where he would even challenge Sam on his show whenever Sam would try and pretend like the Democrats didn't cheat in 2016 or 2020. It's 34, 35 years old, man. That's too much, man. He was on camera 3 days ago or 4 days ago. That's too young. We'll never know what we could have achieved together, and that's probably some of the most heartbreaking things. We don't know what Michael could, regardless of how I felt about him regarding our political disputes. We don't know what he could have achieved. We don't know what he could have done. We don't know what he could have used his platform to do. Could it have been bad? Potentially. Could it have been great? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. And so it's just sad. It's really, really sad to see, a fellow anti-establishment journalist, regardless of our disagreements, leave this earth at such a young age and really so unexpectedly. Nobody was able to prepare for it. And I do, send my condolences to his family, to Sam, who is his partner. Him and Sam Cedar have worked together for years, so I know that's a pretty big loss for him. And to the people that were close to him. Now, with that being said, that Emma Vigilant video was pretty sickening. It was sickening. She basically did a video that was supposedly a eulogy to Mike, and it was about Emma. It was basically a video about Emma and all of her problems. And effectively, the way she made it seem as if Mike was of no use to her political career, then they wouldn't have been as close as they were. That's basically what it was. She used it as she called her trash. Then she had to backtrack her statement and say, well, no, her foreign policy was trash. Oh, they attacked me, and Mike defended me, and me, I, me, I, Mike helped me. And it's actually a very consistent theme that I've seen happen regarding the situation. It's kind of sad, honestly. The responses that I've seen have been very much so self-promoting, and it seems as if a lot of people just wouldn't have been as interested in Mike if he didn't do something for them personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he was celebrated for his politics, but for a lot of those people, it wasn't his politics necessarily that they loved, and that they're not even celebrating him for his achievements. And Mike actually does have quite a few. However, it does look like they're mostly just celebrating him for what he did for them. If you're mourning somebody, and you're trying to pay tribute, if you have to say I, me, I, me, more than you mention Michael himself, then that's problematic. It's reminiscent of when AOC was running, was a surrogate for Bernie Sanders, and then she speaks at a rally and doesn't mention Bernie Sanders' name at all. It just does damage to his legacy. Nina, I felt like, gave an amazing response. She talked about his achievements, what he was able to do while he was on this earth. It was not about Nina's relationship with Michael, because her respect for him was genuine. So what Emma did, that's just a disservice to Mike, honestly. Like I said, me and Mike had our disagreements. Our disagreements were not that damn bad. And like I said, I've been able to mend a lot of political relationships over the last several months, because at the end of the day, many of us realize, like, these politicians are going to turn around and, they'll do what they'll do for their careers no matter what. We shouldn't end our friendships, our our work relationships, whatever you want to call it, over political squabbles that really aren't even dealing with policy, like some people would claim they were. They were really just dealing with personality. So we're gonna get started here really quick. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And by the way, to be fair, for those of you who I know have issues with Michael over his Tulsi coverage, which, I mean, he admitted was specifically, he was smearing anybody and everybody who was not Bernie, and he was very open about that, because he wanted to see Bernie win. Was that the right thing to do? No, it wasn't. And if you asked him offline, I'm sure he probably would have admitted that. But at the same time, I've heard the reason that a lot of people who may disagree with him put up with him is because in real life, he actually is a nice guy. And that's good. You know, it's that there is something to be said for that, because a lot of these people are good at playing nice on camera. Then the moment you meet them in real life, they're turd blossoms. So, you know, RIP to Michael Brooks, condolences to his family, to Sam, to his colleagues and his supporters. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have some news to do. So let's get started. What is going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa. And of course, as always, I am your humble host, Niko House. Y'all know that, I don't know if y'all new to the channel, but I don't know if y'all are aware that I am oftentimes called a conspiracy theorist. Did y'all know that? Little old me. I am called, whenever I say things like Big Pharma runs medicine, you know, things that I thought we all agreed on, but apparently it's not true anymore. When I say things like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be really excited about a vaccine that they're about to create in 3 or 4 months when they haven't been able to figure it out in 30, 40 years, right? And they were like, nah, they wouldn't do anything like that. That's merely conspiracy theory you're talking about, Niko. That's what I was told. I even said, well, really quick, what about this whole ass statement from Dr. Fauci saying we want to have a vaccine by the fall? And then he said, they were like, he didn't really mean the fall. He meant another fall. That's what we're told. I'm a conspiracy theorist because I like to take words that people said and then say them to you and say those words were probably wrong. We shouldn't follow that advice. And then I'm wrong for saying that. Now, some of you may be wondering why I'm bringing this up. Because my quote unquote conspiracy theories keep coming true. I want to show y'all something. Can you bring up that tweet really quick? Bloomberg reported 5 hours ago, this is breaking news, that the United States has entered a pact with Pfizer for 100 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, which Americans will receive for free. Now, I'm not the smartest guy, okay? I will admit. But I'm pretty sure that means Pfizer's gonna get paid something. Because they put the part where US made a pact with Pfizer There's going to be a bunch of vaccines, and it's going to be free. That seems like everything you need to know. Hold on, what do you mean a pact? The U.S. don't make pacts with people. We get money or we spend money. And let's look at exactly how much we spent. Why would Pfizer be so altruistic about just giving us a vaccine for free? Oh, it's because in signing a $2 billion deal supply their experimental coronavirus vaccine to the U.S., Pfizer Incorporated and Biotech SE are setting a price ceiling of less than $20 a dose. Wow. And that will impact how other companies charge to protect people from COVID-19. Don't you love to spin on that one? Only $20 a dose, people. But a lot of y'all will get it for free. Listen, people. Government, listen to me real quick, government. When we said reallocate our tax money and put it towards healthcare, this isn't what we meant. We didn't mean pay off Pfizer, pay them $1 billion to make a half-ass COVID vaccine and then ignore every other solution out there. Like, what the bro? Oh, man. Listen, y'all. Now, I know some of y'all might be thinking that I might be being a little bit too jumpy here. I might be jumping to conclusions. I don't know how much influence Big Pharma actually had over the rights to produce and administer this vaccine. I don't know if Pfizer specifically had lobbied so much that the government would want to work with them and maybe one other company to get this stuff done. We don't know if Pfizer might have had some undue financial influence on the United States government somehow by maybe spending money on them. I don't know. And maybe that influence would have stopped them from talking about the other solutions that were available, like hydroxychloroquine and zinc and interferon alpha 2B. We don't know, except for, here's the thing. I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Let's look up how much money. Oh, actually, I'm gonna pull it up over here. Let's look up how much money they spent lobbying. biopharmadive.com. You can find things like that. It's crazy how hard research is nowadays. Pfizer, Amgen, and Lilly spent the most to lobby Congress. Well, maybe this was like 10 years ago. Oh no. This was published on March 4th, 2020. That's a really convenient time period. I don't know why it seems so familiar to me. Collectively, drug makers and other health sector companies outside of insurance spent $4.7 billion on lobbying Congress and federal agencies, and another $1.3 billion on state and national campaign contributions during that time. Wow. Pfizer, Amgen, and Eli Lilly were the biggest corporate spenders, with Pfizer alone accounting for $219 million in lobbying expenses and $23 million campaign contributions. With PHRMA, the drug lobby, ranking the highest with $422 million spent. So here's what's significant about this. This isn't just a year, so I want you all to think that. This is from 1999 to 2018. So in other words, Pfizer has been one of the top lobbying influences in all of the US government since 1999. While y'all were in the club partying for Y2K, Pfizer was making it rain on Capitol Hill. So whenever a lot of us exercise skepticism about the narrative siege that we have been going on, because I've been, once again, we've covered this, I've been seeing the obsession over the mask. I see some people are obsessing over whether or not we should be wearing masks. I see people obsessing over, we can't wear masks because our heads are going to spontaneously combust. I've seen all the sides. I've been one of the maybe 2 people who have said, well, maybe we won't need masks if we use interferon, because Cuba said it works pretty well because they beat COVID effectively. All these other countries are also using interferon. So, okay, well, what about hydroxychloroquine and zinc, which has been extremely effective? No, we can't use any of those. Well, why not? Because wearing a mask will actually solve all of our problems. You didn't know? Well, shouldn't we address the fact that the same people who are trying to shift accountability by putting the onus on us to wear a mask are not even holding themselves accountable for, I don't know, maybe actually solving the damn problem with the medicine that's available? Maybe even giving out aid in such a way that we feel comfortable quarantining, missing work, losing our jobs, keeping our kids out of school, etc., etc., etc. Maybe the onus shouldn't be on us to do their jobs. They're like, hey, we know we've been an abysmal failure as a government, but if you don't wear that mask, you want to see people die. Or once again, the opposite side of the fence, because you got the MAGAs that don't want to, they can't blame Trump for anything. Oh, well, you just shouldn't be wearing a mask at all. Oh my God. I never thought that I would ever see masks trend on Twitter so much. Not gonna lie to you. And yet, once again, we were one of the few, very, very few channels who were like, hey, so why y'all arguing about that stuff over there? Y'all sure y'all don't want to look at all this money that Big Pharma is spending? Y'all sure y'all don't want to look at all this money that Bill Gates is spending? Y'all sure y'all not want to look at you don't want to look at all that money that Big Pharma and Bill Gates is spending specifically on the WHO, who is giving us all this information? And why the WHO is refusing to use all of that money and spending to run studies, like more than 2, because that's basically what they've done, on interferon and hydroxychloroquine and zinc? And y'all not worried that Big Pharma is the same ones that told us like weed was bad for us and it's gonna make your brain look like eggs and it's gonna make you fail out of school and you get cancer from weed? Remember that was what they were saying before? That same Big Pharma that still oh God. Fauci was like, wasn't Fauci like in 5 administrations? So he's been part of that narrative. Okay, just making sure. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I don't really trust Big Pharma all that much. And the money that they've spent, think about it like this, people. I just told you that Pfizer has spent over $200 million in lobbying since 1999. They are the second largest spender. By the way, this is separate from any of the insurance spending, like to protect the private insurance companies. This is just Big Pharma money. So they spent over $200 million, the second largest, and they just got a $2 billion return with one fell swoop. Think about that. You think that they got their money's worth with that little bit over $200 million that they spent? And do you think they were not exercising the influence that they bought with that $200 million throughout this entire process? I'm just trying to figure this because listen, I'm not a doctor. Once again, there's somebody who plays a doctor with my last name on TV, but I'm not a doctor personally. But I do know you can't have two masters, people. You can't have two masters. Even if you got a part-time job, you can only have one full-time job. And it's whoever's paying you the most. So there you have it. Congratulations, you're going to get a free vaccine that they came up with in the last 2 months. How many of y'all going to take it? I'm not taking it. I'm not. No. Hell no. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Not even thinking about it. I told y'all, I will take it when Bill Gates tells his kids to take it. You can't tell me Big Pharma is largely responsible for the opioid crisis. You can't tell me then Big Pharma is also responsible for partially for the drug war that is the war against marijuana. That is still federally illegal. Federally illegal still. If you're in depending on what state you're in, the feds could still run up in your house. This is a fact. If they chose to. That's Big Pharma. Big Pharma is the reason why hemp was illegal for a long time. And no one can explain to me that nonsense. Hemp can't even get you high. It can make your hair smell really good though and be all soft. You get some good, hemp is really good clothing material too. I don't know if y'all knew that. It is good. Hemp is really good for you. But hemp was illegal. Big Pharma is the reason that until recently, CBD was illegal everywhere. Big Pharma is the reason that they're now trying to come down on kratom, which is essentially the natural version of Adderall. Helps with energy, focus, depression, anxiety, etc. It's a plant. Kratom is a damn plant. Big Pharma, you're going to tell me that they are responsible for really some of the most popular medical travesties of the last half century. And they're responsible for influencing the government in a way that was not, to the benefit of the people. And now all of a sudden, because a pandemic, which basically makes the American people ripe for the picking, because of the pandemic, we're just supposed to pretend like their influence just disappeared? Come on, bro. It's not how it works, man. It's not how it works. It's sad, but it's true. It's sad, but it's true. So, no, once everything opens back up, I will be flying to Cuba. And I will be taking interferon. Or I might go to my doctor and just tell him I have arthritis and so I can get some hydroxychloroquine and zinc. I don't know, but I'm going to keep taking my vitamin C though. My vitamin C gummies have been working out pretty well for me. But I ain't taking nothing that was made in 2 months. Good luck trying to figure out the long-term side effects for something that they've had zero time to figure out the long-term side effects of. Long-term is not 2 weeks, people. Long-term is not 2 months. When you're injecting something into your bloodstream that is trying to fundamentally change the way you deal with the virus, long-term could mean 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But the moral of the story is, you don't know. Because you can't possibly know unless you have borrowed Ant-Man's time machine and traveled into the damn future that doesn't exist yet to figure out what the long-term effects are going to be. Y'all should look up the lawsuit against Bill Clinton whenever he forced all those military personnel to take experimental vaccines before they deployed. I think it was during Desert Storm. You should go look that up. With that being said, I want to move on to the next topic. Man, Trump he's been doing his best impression of Joe Biden lately. That's what it feels like. Y'all, a lot of people for some reason think that Trump is exonerated from the Epstein situation because, you know, he did technically kick Epstein off of his resort before. But at the same time, Trump is known to hang out with weirdos, right? I think we all know that. Now, of course, who always hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, his pedophile pimp partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump gets asked a question about Ghislaine Maxwell, and y'all know what he said. Y'all know do you want to know what he said? I know you do. We're going to get that brought up real quick. Go ahead and bring up that clip on Twitter. If I said it, y'all would swear to God that I was making it up. The Trump supporters will. Oh, it's the one above the Maxwell thing. That one, yeah. Y'all would think I was making this up. I know how some of y'all Trump supporters get. Y'all think that everything that anybody says about Trump is a conspiracy theory. It's not, my friends. These are his words now. Oh, hold up. Give me a second. Let me pull it up for you. Oh, you know what? I'm about to send it to you right now. Huh? Yeah, you can. Give me a sec. I gotta pull up the clip for my wife. Y'all want to say hi to my wife real quick? My bad. I thought I had it up already. It's okay. So going to be the last one. Got it? All right. Got that coming right now. No, I thought Desert Shield was George H.W. Bush and Desert Storm was Clinton. Could be mixing them up though. Yup. Go ahead and bring that up.
Is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
Mr. President, is in prison, and a lot of people want.
So, y'all, does anybody want to tell me anything wrong with that clip? Does anybody want to tell me anything wrong with that clip? Should we create a list? Where do you want to start? I wish her well. You know, I knew her because, you know, I lived in Palm Beach, and they lived in Palm Beach, I guess. What do you mean you get? Your whole premise of wishing her well is because you knew her because y'all both lived there, and you're like, I don't know if she really lived there. I might have saw her in my dream one time. I'm not sure. It gets really hot down there. I got feverish from time to time. Had some fever dreams. They were excellent dreams, though. You guess? You wish her well. And you're not following the biggest human trafficking case. Oh, I guess second biggest, huh? In history. Bigger. I haven't started talking about Tulsi yet, so don't worry. That's coming up next. Marcus Will, thank you very much. Appreciate the super chat. You said it looks bad. Does Trump know the charges on Maxwell? Trump said, I'm not following that closely. I haven't been following. I wish her well, though. I wish her well. He didn't even have, like, as far as being a president, he hasn't even had nice words to say about Epstein. Bro, does he understand what she is being accused of? Of course he does. Come on. You know he knows. They said, well, what, she could have information that could reveal a lot of information about other people, right? It could implicate politicians, elite, powerful human beings from all over the world. Apparently, according to the gentleman that asked the question, they already have like 12 people who could be implicated. Are you following the Prince Andrew thing? No, I know I'm the president and he's literally a prince. And I work with the UK all the time. And Epstein was literally both of our friends at one point. I know nothing about what's going on with Prince Andrew. Really? Really? Nothing about what's going on with the prince. Okay. So, just to double back real quick, did I tell y'all about how Ghislaine Maxwell's father was Mossad, Israeli intelligence? Literally had the prime minister of Israel speak at his funeral. Had a bunch of the highest ranking Mossad agents attend his funeral. And then the prime minister said that nobody will ever know just how much Robert Maxwell did for Israel. And y'all know that Trump he's in a damn near love affair with Netanyahu and Israel. He's worked very hard to violate international treaties to give Netanyahu what he wants. Also, whether or not he was actually guilty of engaging in pedophilia, there is enough information about his relationships with Epstein that no matter if he was guilty or not, he looks guilty. And that's more than enough reason to not piss off the wrong person if you're Donald Trump, especially right before an election. You just had Epstein die in a jail, commit suicide, quote unquote, where he was about to once again expose potentially human trafficking all over the world and implicate the most powerful people in the world in the human trafficking case. And then his pedophile pimp partner in crime gets arrested too. Gets denied a $5 million bail or something crazy like that. Because she's that much of a flight risk. Why? Because she's been known to hide out in Israel. Did y'all know that? Yeah, she's been known to hide out in Israel. And your response is, I don't know what's going on. I know I'm the president of the United States of America, and I take to Twitter all the time to pretend like I know exactly what's going on about everything. I know everything, every conspiracy theory. I know everything, even the shit that he has zero idea about. He'll still pretend like he knows about it. But you don't know. You don't know about Ghislaine Maxwell. That's super peculiar, Trump. And you know what's even more bizarre about this, y'all? His base has been, they've made it very clear that where the left and the right and the MAGA group converge is on the issue of Epstein and human trafficking in general. One of the very few issues we all agree on. And yet, he neglected the opportunity to pander to his base in a way that he could have capitalized on for the election, in a way that Joe Biden wouldn't even think about capitalizing on, because he can't touch it for obvious reasons. What's going on, bro? Anybody else curious about this? Anybody else curious about this stuff? My conspiracy theory is that I don't know if Trump is actually guilty of, you know, some of the things that these, like Bill Clinton, I'm absolutely positive he's guilty of. I'm absolutely positive whatever Bill Clinton's accused of regarding that situation, he's absolutely guilty of. Trump, I'm not sure. I think Trump is an idiot at times who puts himself in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people and then takes pictures of it. That's just kind of how he is. Which is enough, right, to implicate you. But I also think this. Y'all know that Trump really only gloats about things that he could perceivedly have some control of the outcome. Right? Whether it's Iran, he can fake like he's doing more, because how are we going to find that out? I mean, you can know, but you can't really know that much. He can pretend as if, you know, he has control over the protests, right? He can paint them as being rioters and looters and criminals and anarchy because he has that microphone, and a lot of the country has always felt like that. This has always been a rift within our nation that people use. They pit us against each. Cool. So he can control that. He couldn't control the outcome of the Epstein situation, though, could he? He probably is pretty confident that he can't control the outcome of this Ghislaine Maxwell situation either. Because if you weren't guilty, or at least couldn't be implicated, you could say something, right? You could say, you know, if what she's accused of is true, she has to come to justice. You know, our Justice Department is working day and night tirelessly to make sure that we bring these victims justice if there is something to be found there, and we will find any of the accomplices if she is indeed guilty. You could have said that. If she is guilty, but of course we will ensure she does have her due process. Could have said that if you were not guilty of anything whatsoever. And if you were sure that there could be some outcome that, once again, your Justice Department can actually be in control of. Or if, you know, you were indifferent, because that wasn't even indifference. That was weird. That was like words of support. Why are you... well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I hope that this stuff, you know, I don't know. I hope that this stuff isn't true. She was a nice person. Why would you do... There were so many other options that you could have took there. But you know that basically anything that you would say in this particular moment, you don't have control over how some of the other players in this game will react. How they will take your words. If they will need to step in. And I'm sure that Trump didn't want to ruffle any feathers. Because if there is one thing for certain, Ghislaine Maxwell was directly connected to intelligence. And the intelligence community protects their own. They do. You see the way that the cops protect each other. You don't think the intelligence community, who was engaged in far worse behavior, you don't think they protect each other too? They protect their assets until they're, not assets anymore. This is going to be very, very interesting to see. I'm hoping that the Justice Department will do the right thing. But, y'all heard about the judge who's handling the Epstein case as far as that Wall Street corruption, the banking corruption is concerned. Her son died. Her husband's in critical condition. There was a drive-by shooting by a FedEx driver. Turns out he wasn't really a FedEx driver. And he killed himself. What a coincidence. And apparently he was a lawyer who, it was like the perfect alibi. Like he had a case open in front of that judge, and he just had a personal, it was like some super cheesy Clue setup. Like the game Clue. Clearly, look, this is his motive. This is his murder weapon. This is what he did. This is where he hid. Duh. Why wouldn't he be the one? Why? You just don't be worried. Drive-by shootings on the families of judges who are presiding over possibly one of the most important cases in a century. They happen all the time in Batman movies. That's where you see that at. That doesn't happen in real life. It can happen in real life, but not really. Most of the judges at that level are already in somebody's pockets anyway, so it really doesn't matter. That's why that's what made this situation even more surprising. But Trump's not tracking any of this, even though a judge's son was literally assassinated. A judge's son was assassinated over an Epstein case, and you're not paying attention to any of this. What do y'all think about that? Y'all think it's just innocuous? Trump is genuinely oblivious to everything that's going on? Or should we not ignore the fact that Trump always knows what's going on, quote unquote? That he always speaks in a way that would lead his supporters to believe that he just, he's plugged into all the major issues going on within our government, within our Justice Department, within foreign policy. He always pretends like he knows what's happening, even when he clearly does not. And this is the one situation that everybody's paying attention to where you don't know anything? I don't think so. I think Trump's full of it. And I think he might be trying to protect himself because he might already know the outcome. Who knows? Let's move on to the next topic. Tulsi introduced, she put this out yesterday. She introduced an amendment to the NDAA that would call into question, the legitimacy of sanctions. It calls out, it talks about everything that she's talked about this entire election. As you all know, Tulsi wasn't super pro sanctions. However, she was pro sanctions enough that it would be hard for people like myself to call her truly anti-war, because sanctions are a part of siege warfare. After her visit to Syria, she discussed on our show, on the Convo Couch, a few other interviews, when they asked her, well, why are you all of a sudden anti-sanctions? She said, because it's the poor people who are hurt the most. Now, she was able to get this anti-sanctions legislation into the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And of course, she did in fact vote against. So let me be clear about that. She voted against the NDAA. I know some people have zero idea what the difference is, but she voted against it, even though people keep saying she'd be voting for NDAAs and shit. Against. However, she understands that the NDAA is going to be passed regardless. And she introduced this amendment with a group of other amendments that were likely going to be passed regardless. And she was able to slip it in there. So let's check out what Tulsi had to say about this in her press release yesterday. She said yesterday the House passed an amendment to the annual National Defense Authorization Act introduced by Representative Tulsi Gabbard. The amendment was, not the NDA. That would require an initial and annual report to Congress from the administration reporting the humanitarian impact of U.S. sanctions. There is currently no assessment within the United States government to determine the impact of U.S. sanctions on other countries. The report requirements in this provision will examine and report the humanitarian impact of U.S. sanctions that U.S. sanctions have had on the people of countries subject to the comprehensive sanctions. The amendment passed as part of a group of amendments to the bill by a vote of 336 to 71 and was part of the complete bill that was passed in the House of Representatives today, which was yesterday. The reports would be required on all existing comprehensive sanctions imposed on foreign governments by the United States, as well as any new sanctions of this nature the administration wishes to impose. An update on that report would be required annually. This is what Tulsi had to say about this in her floor speech, I imagine. Too often, the United States sanctions levied against another country in the attempt to, quote unquote, punish that country's leader without consideration of the real impact of those sanctions are. So without consideration of what the real impact of those sanctions are. In reality, these sanctions are like a modern day siege, as I just referred to in the beginning of this segment. The siege warfare, that's literally what it's called. And technically siege warfare is supposed to be a war crime. I don't know if I know that. Most impacting the sanctioned country's citizens, limiting their supply of food, water, medicine, and basic supplies that they need to survive, resulting in great sickness, suffering, and death, as what we're seeing right now in Yemen. Meanwhile, the sanctioned country's leader is often left unaffected. Facts. There is currently no assessment and no accountability for our country's leaders on the humanitarian disasters caused by those sanctions. My provision included in the NDAA changes that by requiring an initial assessment followed by annual reports of the humanitarian impact of the United States sanctions on other nations. So there you have it, people. For those of you who are curious as to why, because I know that this comes up a lot, like why Tulsi changed her stance on sanctions and why she's not really pro BDS. She's pro First Amendment right to participate in BDS. She supports the cause itself, but based on principle, she doesn't support BDS because she knows that it's always the poor people who are most affected, and who are the poorest people in Israel, the Palestinians. So, which, by the way, Kim Iverson did confirm when she went to go visit. She said the Palestinians are not necessarily supportive of BDS, not all of them that are living there, because what the Israelis do is once those sanctions actually affect their economy, they punish the Palestinians for it. So that's why she's anti-sanction. It's true. This has happened in Syria. This has happened in Iran. This has happened in, I imagine it's happened all over Eastern Europe. And the leaders will stay in power because they use the sanctions against the people to galvanize their citizens. What's really weird about this, though, is the fact that there has been no assessment tool to be used to actually figure out if this stuff is working. If it's not, maybe it's not working. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Depending on what your definition of working is, it isn't working all that well. It isn't. Iran has its problems. Iran is suffering, the people, I mean. However, they're not suffering as much as you would think they are. And their leaders are not being punished because of it. That is definitely not happening. Assad is in power and is stronger than ever. His people love him now more than they've ever loved him. And he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Maduro might be there for life. The way y'all did Maduro. The way that y'all have been doing. Still, cutting off food. He said, fine, you don't cut off food. I'll do you one better. I'm going to just make sure that groceries are delivered to everybody's house to make sure that they continue to eat. And then he gets assistance from other nations who do not participate in Western imperialistic sanctions. So you're not even achieving your goal. But also, you actually have zero idea if these sanctions are working. Like, you just don't know. You cannot possibly know. So even if you weren't even as concerned about the humanitarian aspect, you know one thing for certain. You have destroyed diplomatic relations the moment that you introduced those sanctions. You have created not only an adversary in a foreign leader, but an adversary in a foreign people, because you are mostly harming the people. And that's about it. That's the only two things you know for certain as far as these sanctions are concerned. Because there is literally no way to currently, there is no way to assess the damage of the sanctions we enact. What the hell? We got $20 trillion just disappearing from the Pentagon. Just the audacity of the 10% Pentagon reduction budget to not pass. Oh, bruh. The 10% reduction in the Pentagon budget apparently didn't pass. And it's wild to me because, one, I think it didn't pass because of Democrats. Don't even get me started, but vote blue no matter who. Vote Joe Biden. But also, you ain't got no way. Your audit system just clearly is an utter failure. You can't track the amount of damage caused by these sanctions. Y'all, like, the CIA loses money all the time. We wasted a bunch of money in Afghanistan. We're probably, and here's the thing about a comprehensive assessment, by the way, there's something that people aren't considering. Yeah, we're engaging in sanctions, but you know, sanctioning somebody works both ways. For example, for the 150,000th time, did y'all know that Cuba invented a cure for lung cancer and put it in an inhaler? Did you know that? Just like this. Look like this. Just like this. My little inhaler. Look at this. Oh shit, don't have lung cancer anymore. That's what Cuba did. But we put an embargo on them. We put an embargo on them, and therefore, yeah, we might have hurt them, but we also hurt ourselves in the process, yet we have no way to really quantify exactly how much we've been hurt by breaking down the economic relationships between these countries, or with these countries that we have sanctions on. We've never really assessed it. So, I'm happy that Tulsi did this. Now, here's what's odd also. So AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib voted against this these group of amendments, I should say. It was a group of amendments. Now, with that being said, the argument that most people would have, except for Rashida Tlaib is kind of an exception. I'm explaining why. Because there were things in those amendments, a couple of things that were good, a couple of things were amendments to the way that funds within the NDAA would be appropriated. Like the funds were already spent, but the funds would also be appropriated within those amendments to make sure that some things were paid. Like, so they're paying more money to active duty soldiers and things like that, which is actually kind of a good thing because most active duty is poor. I don't know if you know that they're active duty on food stamps right now. But I understand that some people's arguments is that, well, it was a group. It was a group of amendments. So, okay. So my thing is, why did Ilhan Omar introduce an amendment within a group of amendments then that was going to go into the NDAA. Because she had to know that she was going to have to vote for that because it was going to have to go into the NDAA. She had to know that. Now, Ilhan Omar amendment did fail. Like that group of amendments failed. The one with Ilhan Omar is in it. Which was a plan, by the way, to create a policy to address the rapid removal of troops in Afghanistan, which I think is a pretty sane request. It was super weird that the House didn't want to do that. It's like they don't want to do their damn jobs, let's be honest with you. But Tulsi was able to get another amendment included, and that group of amendments did pass, but only those 3 Democrats didn't vote for it. Why? Why would you? There is probably almost nothing good to come out of this NDAA. Almost nothing good. This is just like in the last NDAA when Tulsi was, once again, the only one to introduce something good, which was the No More Presidential Wars Act. And then it got passed, and then it gets back to the House, and the Democrats remove it. Because Trump kicked it back, and it's probably specifically because of that. Because he didn't want to be held accountable. So now, once again, we have a situation where you clearly had the same idea. I know the NDAA is going to get passed. I know that there will be some amendments that get passed. So let me use this opportunity to my legislative advantage to see if we can get something done. Ilhan Omar had the same idea. It fell. Her idea didn't work. However, in this particular scenario, Tulsi's idea did work. Ilhan Omar decided all of a sudden, I'm going to be principled now. I'm going to be principled now. AOC decided I'm going to be. That's so funny because y'all had no problem voting to reinstate the Patriot Act. They had no problem voting on military budgets in the past. As in budget allocation, I should say. Because that's basically the group of amendments were budget allocation amendments, except for in the case of Tulsi's amendments. But they've had no problem voting on budget allocation. And the logic specifically that AOC has used is, well, as long as we can get a couple of great things out of this, it was going to pass anyway. So I just wanted to make sure, I voted for it because even though we didn't get everything we wanted, we got a couple of things. And sanctions isn't just a couple of things. Sanctions and actually assessing the damage of sanctions could potentially save millions of lives. But it wasn't worth voting for. But another amendment in the NDAA, according to Ilhan Omar, was worth voting for. I don't even know what their logic is. I guess that's my overall point, right? What is the squad's logic? What the hell is a Justice Democrat anymore? And by the way, Pramila Jayapal voted for the amendment. So that says something to me. Now, AOC and Ilhan Omar, not as sure about Rashida Tlaib, but I do know AOC and Ilhan Omar have been very pro-sanction. Go look at their votes. They've been very pro-sanction. They voted for Russia sanctions. I don't know if y'all remember that. So they haven't been good on this issue. So maybe that's why. We're not going to give Tulsi a victory. That's what it seems like. That's some dams. That's what's so, bro. Y'all had no problem voting for the CARES Act. Like, y'all had no problem voting for sanctions in the past, voting for pro-war. Like, as long as we got a little bit of things, we got a couple of things in there that we wanted. So I voted for it completely. Tulsi got something in the NDAA that she wanted twice and still voted against the NDAA because she was like, I don't support most of this nonsense. However, if I can take advantage of the fact that it's going to pass anyway, it would behoove me to do so. That's called strategy. I don't know what the hell game they're playing. Honestly, I don't know. I can't tell you. And admittedly, legislatively, I would say Ilhan Omar is still an ally, and I would say Rashida Tlaib even more so. However, AOC is all over the place. No logic or reasoning. Ilhan Omar seems to be far too concerned with not upsetting people now. And that could be trauma because of, her life was threatened for saying an obvious statement about lobbying of the Israeli lobby and how much money they spend on Congress. So, maybe she's just traumatized. Rashida Tlaib kind of just marched to the beat of her own drum. I really don't know what the hell. But Rashida's my favorite so far. So she's been the most principled. But what's the logic? So you'll get a couple of things into a horrid budget and vote for that budget. But then you get a chance to actually address sanctions that are affecting millions of people and you vote no. But then you'll vote to reinstate the Patriot Act when you got nothing. You got nothing from that. Nothing for us. This is one of the very few times Trump and Tulsi both agreed on something. They both were like, nah, this ain't gonna work. What is the logic? What is the reasoning? Is there any that isn't seemingly foundationalized in their aspirations, their career aspirations, their ambition? I don't know. But, I'm very, very thankful for Tulsi continuing to work her hands to the bone and to the very, very last second. I know a lot of people are like, well, why isn't Tulsi on Twitter? Well, I know this might seem kind of outlandish for some of you who may be, rosebuds. You rosebud Twitter people. Y'all never off of Twitter. But Tulsi has a job. She's actually a congresswoman. I don't know if y'all know this. And to be a congresswoman, to be a legislator, you gotta legislate stuff sometimes. You can't really be on Twitter all day. I don't know if y'all know this. And when you're more interested in getting the job done for the people than you are about getting the credit for it or being popular, then you feel like you should be concentrating more on your job than you should be concentrating on promoting yourself on Twitter. Listen, I know that's kind of it's an outlandish concept for some of you all. It's foreign territory for you. But I promise you that's how most people, well, not anymore. It's how most people used to think. You go to your job, you get your job done, you let the results speak for themselves. Unless you're Tulsi, when you get the results and then you get smeared because the results were so good that people don't like it because they thought you were going to be a failure and you weren't. That's what happens with Tulsi. They don't like her. That's what it is. It's sad. It really, really is sad. It really is. It just seems like at the end of the day, we are never going to get the change that we want within government. As long as, for leftists, for progressives, for populists even. And then maybe it's for the left and the right, because I know that there are some populists on the right. But we're never going to see the change we want as long as our government is ran by sociopaths. The people that we consider humanitarians are basically sociopaths, but rebranded and cool and hip. Great PR teams. When you got to defend your people for saying they want a Green New Deal, but then not supporting the best climate change legislation. When they say that they support progressives and then go support Julian Castro and Kamala Harris, but then not support other progressives. When they say they're not going to allow Russiagate to distract from the moment and then go and push impeachment without actually pushing the reasons for the impeachment. Like that he should have been impeached. They didn't even push the right impeachment. They pushed Nancy Pelosi's impeachment. That's a little bit different. When you say believe all women, we're primarying anyone who does not believe Dr. Ford because Kavanaugh is absolutely guilty. That's what they said. And then when Joe Biden comes along, well, we don't really know if AOC's words Well, Tara Reid didn't say that she was voting against Joe Biden, not explicitly. We don't know. I mean, yeah, I endorsed him. I know I completely had the opposite reaction when Kavanaugh was running for president, but it's different now. What's the difference? Oh, well, Joe Biden has a D by his name. Oh, interesting. We say we want to fix election integrity. AOC's nowhere to be found. Tulsi's always on the ball. And yet, we keep celebrating the wrong people. We celebrate those who are in front of the camera rather than celebrating those who do the work. And who are consistent. And who display growth. And learn from experience. We gotta get it together, y'all. We really do. Because, man, like I said, that Michael Brooks thing, it got me, it's kind of the same topic, but a little bit different. But it just got me feeling the outlook is bleak right now for the progressive movement. When I'm seeing his friends basically sully his name, not by insulting him, but they literally taken everything this man has done and made it about them somehow. And AOC does this often. It seems like this is like a habit that has been formed in the progressive movement. Everybody wants to be celebrated as their own hero. They want to have, it's just, everybody's so envious of each other. Nobody is happy about where they're at. Nobody is happy about what they've already contributed. Everybody just wants credit, even if they haven't done anything, by the way. But everybody just wants credit. They want to be loved. They want to be adored, but they don't want to fight for change. They either want to maintain the status quo of corruption and uncertainty that we all deal with on a daily basis, because they don't really have to deal with it in the same way, and it gives them stories to write and little, they get to type out their little one-off or one-liner witty tweets and get 12,000 likes and feel validated at the end of the day without actually having to do anything. They don't care. That's not their concern. They're going to be good. They got their Patreon, they got their YouTube channels, they got their congressional seats, excuse me. They got their books. They got their CAA talent agency representation. They're fine. They're good. Ilhan Omar, AOC, they'll never have to want for anything again. Neither will Bernie Sanders, nor the next 3 generations of his damn kids will have to worry about anything again. He is fine. His legacy is in now, because of the way he's treaded a certain line to make sure he didn't end up like Ralph Nader. His legacy is protected, much to the chagrin of his supporters. At least it should be. But it doesn't matter to a lot of people. It sucks, man. It's really heartbreaking. We are fortunate enough to make a livelihood doing what we love to do, which is being in front of cameras, talking politics, giving analyses and things like that. But it comes at a very heavy price. And that price is that we have a job that requires us to profit off of the anxiety and plight and the uncertainty of the American people. Whether or not you're in Congress and you're running as a progressive or a populist, whether or not you're in front of a camera, whether or not you're like Caitlin Johnstone or Bree, who are constantly writing, that's what we do. We try to make it, the conversations fun. We try to make them easy to digest. But at the end of the day, these aren't happy conversations. I know. Which means we should be taking this job much more seriously. We should be willing to sacrifice more. Because people sacrifice every day. They sacrifice every day without a choice, honestly, sometimes. To see the change they want to be the change that they seek. I see people giving up their jobs to volunteer. I see people who stop doing what they do to do this job, and some of them are moderately successful, but it took a while for them to get that. I see people sacrifice to run in a campaign that they can't possibly win, realistically. Not even because of the lack of policy, but simply because of the lack of election integrity. And we just don't have the people representing us, the blue checks, quote unquote, representing us, that think about all the people who are riding on them to be, they don't even have to be quote unquote successful, whatever that definition of success may be, which usually requires passing some sort of legislation, you know, having hundreds of thousands of followers or whatever. They don't even have to. We just need one person or two people, that's how it starts, to just be principled and consistent when it's the most difficult to do so. That's all we need. And every time we have an opportunity to make that happen, for every Bree, and I hate to say this analogy, but it's unfortunate because it's reality, but for every Bree who left Bernie's campaign after they ended and just went nuclear on the entire establishment, you have a Bernie who used all that clout that he gained to tell the world that Joe Biden will be the next FDR. That's why we are where we are. That was not supposed to rhyme. It just so happened to. We need... we just need more Brees in this world, bro. We need more Brees. We need more Fiorellos. We need more Pastas. We need more Robbies. We need more Caitlyn Johnstones. I feel like I missed it. Hannah Gosling. My bad. I'm so sorry I missed your super chat. Niko, thanks. I've been in the Middle East war zones, and Tulsi is right. For war, money, resources, millions of innocent people, including children, women, and old ones, suffer and die. Heinous war crimes, madness, death. Yeah, 100% agree. Thank you very much for that super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Let me see what we got. I think I'm gonna do one more. Oh, let's take a little trip back in time. Because remember how we talked often about the impeachment and basically telling everybody that the impeachment was simply a political campaign for the Democrats and for Joe Biden and for the anti-Trump Republicans. We said that because we said there's no way you can pretend that you actually want to hold Donald Trump accountable for the phone call that he had with the president of the Ukraine, and then when people are like, well, are you going to call the president of the Ukraine as a witness? No, we can't do that. Well, isn't this entire impeachment hinging on the conversation with this guy? And if he's saying that it isn't what it is, if he's saying that it isn't what you claim it is, then shouldn't the American people hear about that? And you're like, no, that's stupid. Why would we call a president of a country to testify in an impeachment that directly involves him? Do you not know the United States justice system? That's not what we do. Okay. This story came out May 28th, 2020. And I said that this will likely happen whenever the impeachment proceedings were going on. I said this is probably going to happen because I did not think that Zelensky, who is currently the president, I did not think that he appreciated the way the Democrats flipped the story, because you have to understand the origination of the story. This originated with Zelensky and calling Trump and trying to work with Trump to hold corrupt officials accountable in the last Ukrainian administration and the officials who were assisting that corrupt administration from the United States. So they were able to take the narrative and flip it and somehow pretend as if it was actually Donald Trump who was guilty of corruption in the Ukraine with the Ukraine, when it was actually the last administration. Maybe some of the neocons in this administration too, but most specifically the last administration. Zelensky's a progressive, so he actually doesn't really like Trump, but he had to do what he had to do. And because of Trump being Trump, they were able to erase everything Zelensky was trying to fucking discuss from the narrative. Everything he was trying to address. I say he might not appreciate that. And guess what happened? I guess he didn't appreciate it because let's check out this headline. The Byline Times. Stephen Kamenetz. Y'all, these are Eastern European names, so y'all gonna have to work with me. All right. Ukraine launches court case against Joe Biden. This is by Stephen Karmelnich. All right. Just going to go with that. On May 20th, Ukrainian President Zelensky held a press conference to mark his first year in office in the grounds of his Kyiv residence, the Mariinsky Palace, suggesting that a Ukrainian prosecution involving Joe Biden and former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko needed to be considered. Zelensky was responding to the alleged tape conversations between Biden and ex-President Poroshenko the previous day. So this conversation was on May 20th. The tapes released on the 19th of May. And weirdly enough, those tapes between Joseph R. Biden and a foreign government never surfaced. Man, I'm still waiting on the tapes that they have on Trump to surface. I'm like, these conversations just never, the walls are constantly closing in, and I have to really go see this house of wonder that they're talking about. Cause I've never seen walls, or I've heard of walls that continue to close in, but they never actually close. Super weird. Got to be an amazing, like a wonder, ninth wonder of the world for sure. All right. But the recordings for Joe Biden and the former corrupt president that was basically installed by the Clinton cabal, they're there, never reported on. You think that's a coincidence? Which is kind of crazy, right? Because of all this Ukraine talk, and you wonder why the Ukraine stuff stopped. You wonder, huh? Let's continue. The recording dates were from 2015 to 2016 while Biden was still vice president of the United States. Whoa, people. 2015 to 2016, Biden, were you colluding with a foreign power during the elections? Wow. Interesting. When Biden was still vice president, and they said that they released, or it was released by the Ukrainian MP Andriy Derkach, who had handed them to the prosecutor. It looks like what we call a rollout, a political stage show in the United States. Oh man. So the prosecutor had then opened a case against Poroshenko on the grounds that he might have betrayed state interests. Zelensky was apparently giving his blessing to a prosecution that could ruin Ukraine's relationship with the United States when the Democrats come into power. The relationship is already ruined with Zelensky. Y'all know he don't really like he don't like Obama, he don't like Hillary, he don't like Biden. That's the whole reason Zelensky got into power, is saying that he campaigned on protecting the Ukraine against those people and the corruption that they've brought. It says that on the 21st of May, the prosecutor launched a second as yet non-criminal investigation into whether Joseph R. Biden had hampered the work of the ex-prosecutor Victor Shokin. You know, whenever Joe Biden literally said, I went up to that what do you call him? A dog sniffing pony something or another, pony liquor. I don't know what the hell he be saying. But he said he went up to that guy and that prosecutor, he said, if you prosecute my son, if you don't drop this investigation right now, we're gonna withhold weapons and money. You know, the very thing that they said that Donald Trump threatened Zelensky with. And I've been saying it was actually Joseph Biden. It's literally Machiavellian. This is exactly what Hillary Clinton did. She was guilty of the Uranium One deal with Russia, so she blamed Trump for colluding with Russia. She said he was the one guilty of it. Joe Biden was guilty of withholding weapons and money, threatening to withhold weapons and money from the Ukraine if they didn't drop the prosecution and the investigation. And they accused Trump of threatening to withhold money from the Ukraine over an investigation. Brah. Lion, dog, face, pony, soldier. There you go. A bunch of words that have no meaning when they're put next to each other. Yeah. Man. Isn't that interesting, though? I find it funny that a lot of people were attacking people like myself over the impeachment stuff. And we kept saying, hey, stupid, look over there. They're telling you to look over here, which probably immediately means, no, not probably, every single time the media, when the mainstream media and all the establishment Democrats are pointing in one direction, oh, God forbid the Republicans and the mainstream media and the establishment Democrats are all pointing in one direction. Whoo! Then you really know you need to be looking in the complete and total opposite direction. In fact, it's so easy. Listen, if you are trying to figure out, like, I understand foreign policy and politics can be very, very convoluted, but I'm going to give you a simple formula. If the Democrats in the mainstream media or the Republicans in their mainstream media, or all three of them, especially all three of them, if they're telling you this is Coke, I know it looks like a Coke, I know the words say Coca-Cola, it even says original taste, but if the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, the mainstream media, and the Republicans are telling you this is Coke, ladies and gentlemen, this is now Pepsi. This is Pepsi now. But some of you are going to be like, well, it looks like Coke. No, it's Pepsi. But it looks, no, it's Pepsi. Niko, it says Coca-Cola right here. Did the Democrats say it was Coca-Cola? Yes. Did the Republicans say it was Coca-Cola? Yes. Did Rachel Maddow say it was Coca-Cola? Yes. Then God damn it, it's Pepsi. I see my camera's out. It's okay. I'm about to wrap up anyway. People, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Says Sukasa. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you like this post. Like it right now before you leave. Like this video. Share this video. Leave a comment below. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace. If you like that segment of Mikasa Says Sukasa, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button. Want access to members only live streams, behind the scenes footage, and other premium content? Well, you can endorse us on Rockfin Premium, become a patron through Patreon, or you can sign up for the MCSC Premium membership through YouTube. All the links are in the description below. But hey, more than anything else, always remember,
find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Find your balance. Find your balance.
Always remember, more than anything else, find your balance.
peace.